So it is the Monday after the National, and after I made the prediction that we're going to get a ton of news, I was wondering why we didn't get much news, and then it turned into that I figured because Fanatics is going to have their show, so realistically, they're probably going to try and hold some of the big news is probably going to be coming out around that show. I mean, they're going to probably use it as promotion. Realistically, like that's just from a marketing perspective, that makes the most amount of sense to me. That if they have big news, why would they announce the big news at a show that is competing with them? I guess I don't really know. I mean, like I said, I from what I've seen, a lot of people had a lot of fun. The sports card, I don't know, the I hate sports card crowd, they were complaining about traffic, they were complaining about this, they were complaining about that. They'll just find anything to complain about. So realistically, you know, I don't know. It is what it is. But we do have some good news. Maybe one of the, I don't know if it's necessarily breaking news, but for the next 3 years, 2025, 2026, and 2027, the National is going to be back in Chicago, in Rosemont. I think that's how it's pronounced. But the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center, which, you know, you've heard me talk praise and talk greatly about that venue for the National. I think there's probably, I don't know, it'll be interesting next year to see how they decide to open up the floor. Because I think last year they opened up like a whole extra section, and I'm wondering, you know, because it was also one of the first. No, actually, it wasn't the first COVID National, but it was one of the biggest. Like from what I heard from people talking at the show last year, it was the second biggest National next to, there was a one in the 90s in Anaheim apparently. So second biggest National. I mean, they had a humongous venue. They opened up a ton of floor space for, breaking, for tons of different things. But that's where we're going back next year, the year after that, and the year after that. I think pretty exciting stuff. I mean, realistically, I don't know. I think moving around the National, I think having it in Chicago and having it in the Midwest is probably the best move, to be honest, because I think you can get everybody from the East Coast. You can get everybody from the West Coast. The Atlantic City National, from what I heard, I unfortunately was not able to attend, but from what I heard, that was a disaster. That was getting in there and getting out of there was impossible. The area wasn't great. So at least we have to look forward to for the next 3 years. We have the National being back in Chicago, which for me, that's big. I'm really excited for that. And so Monday, maybe we'll get some more stuff as people kind of get back, and maybe there will be some news. I don't know. I talk about news and all this stuff, but I think one of the big stories that I saw that came out Saturday or Sunday, was that Burbank Sports Cards. So Rob over at Burbank Sports Cards, basically, I don't know. I don't think it's the biggest. There's potential that it could be the biggest hobby store in the country. It's out in California. Unfortunately, I've never had the chance to get out there, but maybe this winter when things are quiet, maybe I'll get a chance to head out there. But the news from him is that they are going to be moving over apparently 40 million cards. The inventory that they have at Burbank Sports Cards, some of it being on eBay, but they are announcing they're moving some of the stuff from eBay onto Fanatics Collects, which the Fanatics Vault, basically, that was taken over previously PWCC, now Fanatics Collects, and I think it's fine. I think I'm assuming we're going to get people who are going to be mad. I'm assuming people will probably be pretty excited. But it really, I wonder how. The thing that I think about this basically is the branding of that store on Fanatics Collects. Like, how are they going to recreate the hobby experience on the website? And that might not even be one of their goals. Like, one of their goals might just be to get people to put their inventory on the website. Because with this one, it's like, and this is where you get into like the whole metaverse and all this crazy stuff, in my opinion, where you create a storefront where there's VR or AR created. And I don't know if this is something that Fanatics is looking into, or any company really. Like, I think it would be, I don't know. I think it would be smart to somehow create a store within VR or AR that like you can go in and you can view all of their inventory. Like, you can go to any of the VR stuff. Like, I mean, you just create a virtual store and that's what you already have. And I think the other piece of the argument is that, well, no, people aren't going to want to do that. But it's like, this is where things I think are moving forward a little bit. Because the other piece of something I heard rumblings of was that a lot of store owners are potentially feeling a little bit left out and let down by what Fanatics is what they're trying to do with their, distribution strategy. That a lot of product is just, it just seems like it's not the same flow of product or stuff along those lines. But I think with Fanatics Collects and with this, and this is a concept that I actually am thinking of sort of on the fly as we're talking about this on the podcast, is a virtual storefront, because that's what it is already. Like, you are already, it's already a virtual storefront. Like, if you are shopping online, essentially you are shopping virtually. So creating that extra experience potentially, I think would be a great idea. Now, I do also wonder if that could be a technology used within breaking where you can get some of the VR goggles and you can do a break, or you can do any of the stuff that you would do in a sports card store, but do it online and do it in this environment. Like, you could do a show, or you could do any number of things, I think, if you were to try and implement technology like this. But I think the other piece of this is that I'm wondering if Fanatics paid for him to come to the platform. That's one question that I think we may or may not get the answer to, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see big names doing this. Like, if you see, like, I think Rob from Burbank Sports Cards, I think is going to, if anybody else does this, it's probably, he may be the biggest, or his store's inventory may be the biggest that comes with the territory of this. But if you start to see other, influencer people who have card stores moving over to Fanatics Collects, I would be not surprised if they are actually paying people to be on the platform, because for them, they may just be looking at it and saying, "This is we're paying them pennies on the dollar for how much traffic and how much inventory they're bringing, and how much we're going to charge." Because ultimately, that's what it comes down to. Like, it comes down to how much, not even commission, but the fees that Fanatics is going to get from each sale. Because that's just it is what it is. There's going to be some sort of inventory fee. There's going to be some sort of fee that comes along with putting all of your cards on the Fanatics platform. That's just, I don't think that's really disputed. I think that's a thing with Check Out My Cards. I think that's a thing with Golden. If you're buying, and I don't know about buying, but I know there's selling fees. So Fanatics is going to get potentially, obviously they're not going to be getting $40 million worth of sale, 40 million cards worth of sales right away. But like, if that many cards are being put onto the platform, I think that also, you already have a pretty big platform when it came down to the PWCC vault. So like, the fact that they're just bringing a whole company's worth of inventory is very interesting to me, especially, and it's not like it's just, I'm making some random hobby store. This is like one of the biggest hobby stores in the country that has crazy amounts of inventory. I mean, that's when you go to Burbank Sports Cards. That's like the mecca almost of like going in the back and like seeing all the inventory that they have, not even including the inventory they have in the front. So I don't know if it's going to be similar to like Check Out My Cards or what, because I don't know. I mean, again, when it comes down to doing business, some people want to do business and they want to succeed and they want to crush all their competitors and all of these things. And then some people just want to be able to do business. Like, I think that's one thing that I've noticed with Check Out My Cards is like, they have, in my opinion, I think have had a pretty decent opportunity over these past couple of years to really grow their business, but like at the same time, like maybe they don't want to, first of all, or maybe they're okay with the size of the business that they have now, because like they haven't updated their app, or they haven't updated their website really ever, at least since I've been in cards, which I mean, it's actually pretty crazy that it's coming up on like, not really coming up, but it's like, it's 6-7 years at this point. But the website that I think is one of the better websites in general they've never updated their site. So I don't know. And I'm surprised that they haven't, that I wouldn't be surprised if a company like ComC gets sold to Fanatics, or a company like them. And maybe that's what they're holding out on. Maybe they're holding out on their inventory and their customer data, because within this industry, that's what ComC has, like, over a lot of competition. They have such a large inventory. It's almost very similar to Burbank Sports Cards, where, if you're going to the store or you're trying to buy stuff online, they have a huge customer base. Same with Check On My Cards. So one of the biggest hobby stores moving over to Fanatics, I don't know. I think there's still probably more news to come. There's probably going to be some sort of press release, because seems like it's a pretty big deal. But I guess we'll have to wait for that information to come out as we get back from the National, and as things kind of roll to a halt, I guess, until we get into the Fanatics Fest that's coming up in a couple weeks. If you're a listener of this podcast, there's probably a good chance my stance on Fanatics and Michael Rubin and Panini and all the companies within the hobby. So when I hear Michael Rubin say stuff like this, I am encouraged, and I'm also, I think, in a way, I see what happened last week with like that random New York Post article that came out that was saying that Michael Rubin was trying to, sell some of his Fanatics stock. And then it was talking about how some of the revenue is down just across the board with Fanatics, which, if you look into the report, like I said, there's a lot of inconsistencies in that report. And I actually I don't know. Like I said, it's a little bit disappointing that I'm seeing people even really quote that article, because it's just like, if you took 2 seconds, it would tell you the opposite of what the headline said. And then also, like, the big thing was about revenue, and it's like, but it doesn't include some things in there. It's whatever. At this point, it's water under the bridge. Not that it really matters to them or whatever. They got the clicks. They got, people within the sports card industry to click. And also, that's sort of the thing when it comes to a lot of mainstream media outlets. They don't really care about the content of the article, as long as they get you to click. But so Michael Rubin, presumably, I think he was on the Sports Card Nonsense podcast, because they're the ones that posted the clip. So I didn't see any indication that it was an interview from their show, but he was basically talking about how when Fanatics came in, Topps really wasn't investing in the manufacturing side, and they weren't investing really in athletes. There was a ton of different things that they weren't, like, because Fanatics, when they, at least what they've said, when they came in here, they made a lot of big changes, not just to the industry as a whole, but they came in, they made a lot of changes when it came down to how much, like you said, how much money was being invested in the manufacturing, how much they were investing in athletes. Like, there is, I think, a shift that I hope that will be in a good direction coming in the next few years from Fanatics. I'm not here to tout Fanatics as the best company in the world, but I look at everything they have done, and I look at all of the, different not incentives, but different types of programs, I guess, that they have done within the hobby. Whether it's, they got LeBron James to sign over to them. They did the whole campaign with Tom Brady. They have done multiple different specific sports products that I think are big. I mean, they totally have changed. In my opinion, they totally have changed the college landscape for sports cards. Like, I know I can objectively look at college cards and say that I don't really love them that much, but I think what Fanatics has done with Bowman U has, in my opinion, changed the game. Like, I don't know if there's really any other way to look at it, in my opinion. So I'm actually going to put the audio in right here so you can hear what he said, and then I'll be right back with the kind of the rest of my thoughts on it.
Even some of the printing issues that were happening in the industry when we took the business over, it's just like there was so much sloppiness, and you're like, the company we bought that makes, a lot of the cards for us and for others, they didn't spend any money. They weren't investing in the business. Like we've probably put 10x the amount of money in that business in the past 2 years just to professionalize the business. No one's investing more in this hobby and community than Fanatics. Because if you're looking at every dollar of revenue we do versus maybe other market leaders, we make 30% less on every dollar because we're spending on marketing, product innovation, manufacturing, paying athletes what they're worth. Why would we not want the athletes involved in this business? Tom Brady was never in a hobby shop since he was a kid. Okay. Before Fanatics got in this business.
I think the big thing that he talked about, and he even used the word, the no word here within the sports card industry, investing, that Fanatics is investing in the sports card industry like the company previously didn't. And it's interesting that he didn't name Topps, because he said the company that was making the cards. And I don't know if he's speaking about Topps or if he's speaking about the actual manufacturing, because he also used the word sloppiness. And that is something that I think within the sports card industry, we can be very... No, I don't know what the word exactly would be, but very cognizant of when we see mistakes. And I don't think, at least in my opinion, we look at sort of the other side of it, of like how many cards are really being made, which I think that's a whole nother conversation of whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I think the amount of cards and the amount of work that goes into all of these cards, I think, in my opinion, it's actually pretty remarkable that we don't see more mistakes. It's very similar, and actually maybe it's not similar, but I think it's kind of the same as the postal service, in my opinion. Like, I think the fact that mail can get from one place to another is actually like sort of a miracle. Like it really is like insane. So, and I'm not saying that Fanatics or Topps are doing any miracles here, but I think that if you look overall at the industry of how many cards there are, and obviously you're going to see on social media the negativity, or not even negative. Well, yeah, it is negativity, but it's also the negative aspects of sports cards. You're going to see that much more often than you will positives, because that's just how, outrage gets clicks. And it's similar to what I talked about earlier in the episode. It's like, whether something is true or not, the people who are getting clicks on social media, that's all they, that's their strategy. That's what they want to do. Not saying, I don't know. I wish it wasn't like that. I've talked, I don't know if I talked about it on this podcast, but I know I've talked to like people in general about like, I think there's going to be a shift in the media industry where you're paying per click or paying per view on things. It's just going to have to shift, because it's leading to the sort of social media environment we have today, which, like, if I'm an advertiser, I'm very skeptical about the long-term longevity. I don't think that's the same thing, but the longevity of some of these platforms, if what they decide to, if they choose to reward the things they were choosing to reward. And I think also it's just like, the people who are spending the millions and billions of dollars on advertising, they're just like, they're a generation that's much older than I am. And they're just kind of coasting until they can get to retirement. And then I think once we see another generation of people get in, sorry, I didn't mean to get on my soapbox about marketing and advertising here, but the investment that I think Fanatics has made, in my opinion, I think people want it to be bad, and sometimes, like, and I don't know if that's just because, again, it might just be the nature of social media. People are expecting things to go south. They want things to be good, but if things are bad, that's also good for them because they can complain about it. So I don't know. The meme, the whole thing about Fanatics 10xing the hobby, I still think is a valid argument of one way or the other. Like, I still think that, some people are saying, well, they're trying to 10x their business. But then, in my opinion, I look at it and say, well, look at everything that they've done. Like, and I guess I maybe should have looked this up, but like Fanatics in general, like it's one of Michael Rubin's biggest companies. So he's not just going to let it fail, realistically. Like, I think that there are things within the industry that they are going to try. And if it doesn't work, maybe they let that go. And I don't know, maybe they do look to sell this, or maybe they look to add more assets to this business that they have created and to the business that they've taken over from Topps. And like I said, I think in that interview, it's just interesting that he kind of, I don't know, I don't think he necessarily throws Topps under the bus, but he says that there was a lot of sloppiness going on in the industry and with some of the industry leaders, and that Fanatics right now is trying to be one of the industry leaders that's spending more money on investment within the industry than trying to just get a quick cash grab. The Olympic Games are fully underway, and I mean, it's definitely better than the last time the Olympics were on. I think they were the Winter Olympics that were in China, either China or Japan, and it was like the opposite time zone. So it was like it was like 3-4 o'clock in the morning is when all of the games were going on. So you really, unfortunately, couldn't watch any of what was going on. Now there is obviously I think it's probably like a 5 or 6 or 7 hour difference. So like most of the stuff is on in the mornings and they have the replays at night. I don't know, another thing, actually, I have seen people posting about certain teams or certain people winning. And how this relates to cards is, and I guess this shouldn't be super surprising since Topps did release like a full Topps Chrome Olympics product. But I think it is very smart of them to continue with this Olympics license that they have. And one thing that we are seeing actually is one of the first sets of Topps Now cards are coming out for the Olympics, and 2 of them are basketball players. One is a Kevin Durant. The other one is a LeBron James. And then we have a Mallory Swanson, and then a Tori Husky. And Husky is a swimmer, and then Swanson is a women's soccer player. So I don't know. I don't want to sit here and talk about how much I love Topps Now, because if you listen to this podcast, you know how much I love it. I think it is very cool that they are going to be able to take moments and create cards from the moments. And I actually think it's actually the Olympics, I think, are the type of cards where both products, I think, are going to have viability if you want to get into these cards. Like if you want to buy them, I think both of them are going to be cool. Obviously, if you're buying the full Topps Chrome product, you're going to get a litany of different people from different sports and different not activities. I don't want to downplay the Olympics, but like the different types of I don't know, sports, I guess you could call them. I don't know. I just don't know if you could call there was some like backyard horse racing, which I thought was actually pretty cool. It's like off-roading for horses. I don't know if that's technically a sport. I guess I don't know. Whatever. We're getting into semantics here, and I don't think it really matters. But so I know maybe we're gonna get some horse cards. I don't know, and I don't know if it's just going to be Team USA. I would imagine so. But this is most likely going to be one of the first cards for a lot of these Olympic athletes. Some of them may have been included in Topps Chrome, but as we know, when these events go on, there are unsung heroes that kind of come out of the woodwork that with this Topps Now, with them having the Topps, with Topps having the USA license, I think that this is going to give an opportunity for a lot of people to get their first cards, or maybe even for some of them, and they may get their only card coming out of here. So I actually would like Topps to expand upon this. And right now there's only 4 cards available. And I think from what it looks like, they've been coming out with 2 a day. Like the Kevin Durant, his is a basketball card actually, where the LeBron James is him holding the flag, which LeBron is such an interesting figure. Like, I don't know. It's so odd. Like he does such iconic things, but I almost feel like he doesn't mean to. Like the holding of the flag on the ship when it was raining, like that's going to be an iconic Olympic moment. And like, I don't even think he meant to, like, I think he was just holding the flag, and I don't know, maybe that's just me talking about the moment being iconic, but I think it's going to be an iconic Olympic moment for many years to come. And they put it on a card. Like that's what the LeBron James card is him holding the flag on the boat. And then, like I said, you got the soccer, which I think the U.S. women, I mean, their pipeline is so ridiculously good that I wouldn't be surprised if they win the gold. I would actually like to see if I were Topps, here's what I would do. If I were Topps, I would every single gold medalist should get a card. That's how I would do this. And then at the end of the Olympics, I think that they should do a gold medal product where they have Topps Now cards, so you get those, but then they have different versions of the cards that are going to go into this product with only athletes that won gold medals, which I think could be pretty extensive. Like, the amount of gold medals that the USA are going to win, or any of the big countries. I mean, USA, I think, usually is in the lead. I mean, I think China is usually in there as well, in terms of like winning a lot of gold medals. So, and also you're going to get teams in there. So like Team USA, and maybe if you do the teams, maybe you only do one or two players, like maybe you do the best player. But I guess with soccer, again, that's what maybe you do the couple of the best players, or you do like a team card. That would probably be more beneficial, I think, for that scenario. Like maybe do a few players and then a team card with them winning the gold medal. I think that would be a great way to celebrate these athletes. And, if they have an opportunity to get some autographs in there, I think that would also be really cool, which it looks like there are, if you're on the Topps website and you scroll onto the cards, it looks like there are like some USA flag variations, at least from what I'm seeing. Like there's a regular card and then there's like a USA flag in the background. It looks like at least on the LeBron one, they have it numbered. So I think that those American flag cards are going to be numbered. The other ones don't have numbers, which is sort of, maybe that's a mistake on their end, but either way, it looks like the flag is probably going to be some sort of variation that is going to be numbered, and we'll see. I mean, the Olympics, I think it goes on for the next month or so. I mean, I know with U.S. soccer, they started early because they do the group stage and then they do the knockout stage, so that way maybe they use the soccer stadiums for other track and field things. But I mean, you're going to see, you're already seeing, I think, athletes that are becoming American icons in a way. Like I know that I believe her name is Ilona Mary, I think her name is. She's like a rugby player that's like become like a superstar like at these Olympics, which she was sort of famous on Ilona Mayer. She is like on TikTok and is like crushing it on there and doing like a lot of really funny videos of her just like being herself, which I think is really kind of refreshing to see, like a player or an athlete at that level do videos that are like very funny. You're also seeing, I think, other athletes are just going to become more iconic. I think they're going to become part of pop culture. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see her at like a bunch of football games this year. So like, whenever she gets a Topps Now card, which I have to imagine Topps is cognizant of the star of what she's becoming. And then like Noah Lyles is another one who's like a track and field. And then there's like, Richardson, who's like a female track and field star. I mean, like I said, these athletes that, in theory, we don't really know. Sometimes we don't really know that much about them, but then they get into here, like get into the Olympics, and then we get to know them a lot better. I think that it's going to be very cool to see all of these athletes hopefully get cards. I mean, like I said, I hope that they get cards, Topps Now cards, and then maybe at the end of the Olympics, maybe we'll see some sort of gold medal set, or maybe we'll just see some sort of not generic, but like some sort of expanded Topps Chrome product with more athletes in it. Earlier this year, it was announced that one of the biggest, newest sports things, I guess you could call it, or maybe not a thing, I don't know, but one of the newest sports concepts that's kind of, it came out of nowhere, but obviously it's because of, the funds that they had. So Live Golf, totally kind of a new concept for golf in general. I mean, I don't think there's been any changes to the overall game and how it's played in, I mean, I don't even know how many years necessarily, but back in February, Liv and Panini announced that they had a partnership, and now we are starting to see some of the first Liv cards come out, and they're Panini instant cards. And I wonder if they are testing, if they're testing something here because it just seems odd that they would sign a partnership, and maybe this is not counterintuitive, but maybe this is the opposite of what I'm saying, because I like Topps Now so much. In theory, Panini Instant I also like because it same sort of concept, topical. How many cards there are, so I'm just wondering why Panini, when they signed such a big IP here, that they are the first basically product that they're going to come out with is going to be these the Panini Instant cards, because in the announcement I'm looking through some of the and also actually it looks like there was some from June as well. So this is maybe a little bit of an older story. I just recently saw this, so I'm seeing maybe it's by tournament or however they do it. And I don't know. It's pretty interesting that they how the live golf really works. I don't really fully understand it, if I'm going to be completely honest, but it looks like back in June they had some as well. And I don't know if like I said, this is just first time I saw them popping up, but they, in some of the promotions, so Live Golf made their own announcement here for a multi-year trading card partnership, and they have Impeccable. It looks like some of the, I know it's an eye with autographs. It's one of the higher end products with autographs that they announced that they're going, or that's what they used in the graphics. And I obviously know that that's not going to be the first product that they come out with, but I guess I don't know. I'm interested in the decision here to release these cards as Panini Instant rather than coming out with a full product. And I mean, like I said, they could be doing some testing and see which players they want to include in the product, or maybe there's a player that they don't know about that's very popular. And that's actually something that I think is an interesting concept overall for sports cards. And if I ever worked for one of these sports card companies, I think my mission would be to figure out which players are the most underrated that people really like. And I don't know. I think in one way you could do it with the Topps Now, where you just come out with all of these Topps Now and you just look at who's the most highest selling player. Maybe that's not always necessarily an indication of who's the most popular, because if it's a rookie card, if it's a Topps Now rookie, people could just be ordering it because it's a rookie. They may not necessarily like that player, or they may buy it because they're trying to resell it or something. But I think that would be, I don't know, I guess that's maybe what Panini is doing here with some of these instant cards. I mean, they have the team cards, because that's the big difference between Live and PGA is going to be the team stuff. And I guess the one thing that I'm wondering what Panini and Upper Deck are going to do, because Upper Deck has had golf for a while. If there are golfers, because of the way that, if you win the Masters, I believe you can play in the Masters any year that you want to. So there are players who have won the Masters who play in Live Golf, but then also play in some of the PGA tournaments. So I wonder if there's a dual licensing thing there that, maybe they won't come out with those athletes potentially, which, unfortunately, I think if you look at, those are probably some of the most popular. If they're playing in Live, but they're also playing in PGA, those are probably some of the more popular players on the tour itself. So I guess it's a little unfortunate that maybe they won't be able to come out with those cards, but I don't know. With sports like golf and sports that are, I don't know, I would call it a fringe sport, because it's not one of the top sports that's collected within sports cards. Sometimes getting the information can be pretty tough. And, and even just looking back, I've talked about this a ton of times, the information, getting it, even just a couple years ago on regular mainstream stuff was hard. Which is, why nowadays there's so many great resources to find information about, a lot of stuff within sports cards. I mean, for the most part, I'd say any question that somebody new could come in, there's probably some sort of YouTube video. There's probably some sort of article that's been written for people who are coming in and who are trying to get into sports cards, where, I'm not even saying I'm necessarily like a person that's been in the game for long. Like, I've only really been in since 2018. So it's not, there's people who have been doing this for half of their lives or almost their whole lives. So, they probably even had even more of a struggle before all this stuff was put online. And so it may be tough to find if a player for Live is playing in a PGA event, like if they're which product they're going to be in. And I guess maybe that could be an issue when it comes to just like independent individuals within sports or within pop culture, or depend, kind of however you're looking at it. It may be hard to sign some of these players because they all are, if you're in the NFL, you're in the NFL. If you're in the PGA, it's like you can play an amateur PGA, you can play in all these different things. So getting some sort of license together is probably pretty tough. And I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if over the next few years we see some sort of prospecting product, because I think that's maybe potentially why golf isn't as popular within this industry, is because there's just no way to really prospect the cards, because there isn't like a Bowman for golf. There isn't like a Bowman concept or a Bowman product for golf. By the time that a player gets into any type of set, everybody basically already knows about them, and there really isn't much prospecting aspects you can do. Just basically because of that fact, because everybody already knows who this player is or who the golfer is. So that would be an interesting concept that I don't know how you'd be able to do it, or what company would even step up to do this. But just overall, I think prospecting would help golf cards pretty significantly, but it would be something that really would have to be developed. And I don't even know how long it would take them to put together a product that is the prestige of Bowman, but also has sort of the prospecting and has sort of the guessing game that comes along with prospecting some of the players that are in a product like that. Now, I'm not exactly here to dogpile on any of the sports card companies, but if I'm going to be honest, I feel like Panini has made some choices, and maybe this is, maybe Panini isn't out here saying they're going to 10x the hobby necessarily, like the way the Fanatics is, but it just seems like maybe people are just over the being angry at Panini at this point, because also we know that Fanatics is going to be taking over here. So to get angry at things like the thing that has sort of come out now, or that has kind of come out over the past day or so, I guess is maybe people are just like, whatever. We know that Panini is going to just try and come out with as many things as they can. And it started with, I guess it was a controversy. I don't know. At this point, things that are on Twitter, if something is on Twitter, most of the time it's something negative. But either way, so Backyard Breaks, they opened a case of Optic football, and they pulled an insane amount of downtowns, which is the case hit essentially, or I don't even know if you could consider it a case hit necessarily, because it's it's people are getting so many of them. And that's what sort of this topic, I suppose, is that the amount of downtowns have increased very significantly. Now, if you go to eBay or you go to, you see other people talking about it, there are some pretty interesting statistics that I guess I don't 100% know what the statistic is, I guess, and I'm not sure why it is like this. Okay, so Lameme James, also another sports card content creator, meme master, I would say, got some good stuff in terms of just memes and stuff, kind of just memeing on a lot of things, hence the name Lameme. They posted a screenshot from PSA comparing 2018 Donruss downtowns to 2023 Panini Donruss downtowns. 2018, in total, there were 354 cards on the checklist, which I'm assuming that must be inserts, or not inserts, but it must be like colored parallels potentially. Because the checklist, when I looked up the checklist, both of them were only 20 players. So this was kind of one of the other things that I didn't fully understand why it was like this, if I'm going to be completely honest, because then you look at the 2023 same report, there's 7,807 cards. So like, I'm no mathematician here, and I'm not going to try and do the math off the top of my head, but that's like an exponential increase in, I guess one of the things that Panini had over top, in my opinion, was this kind of card. And I think it just really goes back to what Panini has been doing over the past few years, and just they've taken the things that people like and have increased them so exponentially that it almost is like a joke at this point. Like, it's almost like, to increase a specific hit card like this from 350 to over 7,000 is like, it shows you how much of this product exists, first of all. And I know that we've talked about this on the show before, but it shows you how much of this product exists. And then it shows you how many of these cards there are. So again, the checklists are both 20 cards also. So that was sort of the part that I was a little bit confused about how many of these cards there were. I'm guessing there must just be more parallels. There maybe is more. There's like silver. I think, no, they must all be silvers. I like I said, I'm not 100% sure, if I'm going to be completely honest, why there are so many more cards. I just know that, it's obviously, I don't know the reason why there's more. I just know that there is more. Like, I don't know if it was an extra parallel that they added, because that could be one thing. Like, if they, with Kabooms, for example, I think there's 2 parallels with Kabooms. There's the regular, and then there's the gold numbered to 10, and then there's a green 1 of 1. So if they were to hypothetically add like a blue not numbered to 99, obviously if you add the basically 100 extra cards on the checklist for 100 extra cards for 20 players, I mean, that's 2,000 right there. So I'm guessing they must have added 2 new numbered parallels, or they just added some sort of extra parallel in there with these downtowns. And this has just been Panini's MO really for the past couple of years. Like, they did it with Select. Select was a product that everybody really in the hobby they enjoyed the product. It was a cool product because it was kind of rare and kind of hard to find, similar to the Kabooms and the downtowns. And they just made it so it's not rare at all. And it does make me wonder, like, I think I had a conversation on this podcast like a couple weeks ago about my perception of collecting versus someone else's perception. And I know that I talked about the easeability. I don't think that's a word, but I think the ease it can be to get certain cards, like within products. And from my perspective, I look at it and say, well, if they just increase the number of cards, it's going to devalue the cards, and it's also maybe potentially going to devalue the experience. But that's my perspective. So if I am a collector who is very casual, to get one of these downtowns, maybe I don't really care. And maybe that's what they're looking at. So like, it's a delicate balance. And, also, to be honest, like, these products that are coming out now they were probably in like planned production from like 2022, 2021, maybe even going back that far. Like, they're not just, I would imagine at the scale that Panini and Fanatics are creating these cards, they're planning out the sets like multiple years in advance. So like, if you go back to hypothetically, and this is, unfortunately, I think this is a hypothetical scenario. So I won't even really harp on it too much, because like I said, it's hypothetical. But like, if a couple years ago they planned that they were just going to do this with downtowns, they're going to do a Select, all of these things, like, they're I don't know. Maybe they don't have the plans now potentially because of what they're going to see. But I don't know. It just seemed like they took something that was really cool and really good, and in my opinion, they made it not as cool and not as good. Now, again, maybe that's my perspective. Maybe somebody who is a casual collector looks at it and says, well, if now I have a more of an opportunity to pull one of these downtowns, like I don't really care, about the price of it. Like, and it is very, I don't know. This is why I wish there was maybe more data on certain types of customers and collectors, because I do wonder how many people are in cards and they say, I'm not going to be selling any of these cards ever. And then I wonder how many people are like, I'm going to sell half, or if there's people that are pulling these boxes, which nowadays, if you're pulling boxes, like this is some of the TikTok content that just, I don't know. It annoys me a lot because I see people and they still create the content. Like there's still tons of accounts that create content that are like, I'm going to go to the store and buy this box and see if I can profit off the box. It's like, even though the perception of that concept is very individualized, and it is very hit or miss. Nope, I don't think it's, no pun intended, like getting hit from the cards. It's very individualized when it comes to like if you just. And also, it's like you don't know if they bought like 10 of those boxes as well, and they chose to make the video with the one that had the profit. I don't know. It's whatever. It's kind of I'm complaining at this point. It's just, it's whatever. But, I wonder from a customer perspective, how many people just want to get cool cards and they don't really care one way or the other whether they can sell them or not. And then I wonder if there's also a collection of people that are, getting cards and they are selling them, but they're not selling them like they don't have like a business. It's more just like so they can re-up on cards or whatever. Like if they open a box of this Donruss and they pull one of these downtowns, like if they can get $20-$30 for it, they're just going to do it because then they can just buy another box, which I think that's one of the best ways to do it in terms of sports cards and a self-sustaining hobby. But they've also made it where the downtowns, they might not be as valuable. So like I don't know. This, like I said, I don't know what the customer base is for those two styles of people who are opening boxes of cards. But like, if they are cutting one of those people out by just mass producing these downtowns and making them way more common and taking away the value, they are taking away potential for some customer to buy and sell. And I don't know. I mean, I understand that Panini looks at it and says, we want the money. We don't want necessarily they don't want customers making the money. They want to be the ones making the money. So I understand from that standpoint why they might look at this and say, well, we don't care if people are going to be selling these cards, because if we make more of them, that just means potentially that people are going to buy more boxes if they know they have the possibility to pull one of these, what used to be a rare card, now potentially not so much.